Metal Gear Solid 5, the phantom piece of shit! Metal Gear Solid is like this, it's like this Cold War-esque style, like America versus Russia espionage stealth series. But in addition to that, there's giant metal gears, which are like walking nuclear dinosaur kind of things, and they have like nukes on them, and then there's essentially superheroes. It's kind of like a live-action anime, I've heard people describe it as, and I think that's a pretty good way of saying it. Full disclosure, I have never played another Metal Gear Solid game. This is my first. And story-wise, I get that. I will never be able to appreciate this game as a long-term fan of the series would, even though it sounds like a lot of them were pretty disappointed too. But even me, watching that trailer with like Snake when just Snake, and then Snake with the shrapnel, and then Snake with all the blood, and then Snake with all the fire, and then Snake without the hair, I'm like, oh my god, he's Skullface. Even though that's actually not at all what happened. Even I got a little choked up watching that trailer. It was a good trailer. And I'm not going in completely blind. I've been watching all kinds of lore videos and story summary videos, so I know about like all the different snakes and boss and big boss and naked snake, so I have everybody straight. So this is the first Metal Gear that isn't like a straight up stealth game. This is kind of everybody's been saying it's kind of sandboxing. For the most part, I do agree. It's like it gives you lots of options. I like the whole, oh, you can pick your loadout, and then you can call in a supply drop or something else, and then you can full-time people, you can stealth them or down. I feel that freedom is good. I enjoy that. The controls are super ass weird. Like the face buttons are like completely rotated clockwise of what they should be doing. And as it turns out, after I'm like been playing for like however many tons of hours, you can just go into the menu and you can change it so they're normal. Like, why isn't that the default? Just have like actual sensical controls and then Metal Gear Solid style controls. So the controls are really weird and they take some getting used to. And when you're sprinting, there's like this really weird like rumble. It goes like, there's like this noise and the camera's shaking. That's super annoying. I hate that. And you are sprinting a lot because the helicopter drops you like 1.5 miles every time from the objective. And then the actual objective in the base is, it never tells you where it is. Go check every house and look, it's in the base somewhere. And someone could be like, oh, that's realistic. You wouldn't have that intel. No, 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 no. It's a video game. Don't tell me Metal Gear Solid 5 is trying to be realistic. That just makes it take longer and it's annoying. Something that's really weird is suppressors on weapons will die after a short amount of time. Like, you only have so much usage on a suppressor. It's stupid. It's stupid. Go away. Stop! You could take any other street. There's no way this many people live on the street. So the game as a whole is kind of Far Cry 3 plus Red Dead Redemption in that when you're in Afghanistan it looks like Red Dead. You got the poncho. The game looks nice. The game's graphics, they are not the most amazing gorgeous graphics I've ever seen. It does run in 60 frames per second, which is great even on PS4, even though I didn't notice it. And I didn't notice it because the animations are so weird and wonky and because the camera likes to shake a lot because Hideo Kojima likes to shake up the camera because he thinks it's an artsy thing to do. So I do like the look of it because you're on a horse and like this big deserty area, and the graphics, the area looks nice. It's a very pretty looking game, 1080p, 60 frames per second. And people are saying like, oh, the horse controls fantastically after that mess of The Witcher. Oh yeah, now you're saying The Witcher horses control bad. Fuck you! Which is also not true. The horse controls really badly. Not as bad as The Witcher, but really badly. Like if this is Witcher and this is like, I don't know, good. I don't know. The horses have always controlled terribly. Look at Shadow of the Colossus. It's ridiculous. And I do like the whole core gameplay elements of this game. It's like there's this base, and there's these guys, and you gotta mark everybody, you gotta take them out. And I like the option to be stealthy. And I was very hesitant to buy this game because like, oh, I don't like stealth. I don't like stealth. I don't like stealth. I don't mind having it as an option. If you give it to me as an option, I will try. Just don't force it on me. Initially, the game becomes super fun once you realize there's no reason to go stealth. And you can just go through slow-mo matrix headshotting everybody. Because the AI is retarded. They will not see you when you're 40 feet away from them in broad daylight.
Buddy! Ah!
But it does feel very tactical to be like up on a hill next to quiet, and you're both sniping people away with either tranquilizers because they're kids sometimes. And the buddies are good. The horse is really only relevant because it lets you carry somebody and because a helicopter drops you so damn far away. For God's sakes, you spend most of the game just riding across the countryside. The pacing of the game is terrible. See, Afghanistan, is boring as a uniform desert might seem. I feel it's prettier than Africa's because Africa is just, it's kind of a generic looking kind of Africa. Like there's some trees. Like when it's really like straight up jungly, that's nice, but it's like just video game Africa. And there's a day-night cycle game, and there's some weather. It gets cloudy, and then there's rain. But the rain effects look amazing, and it's like everything that The Witcher does with its rain effects, except it doesn't slow down the game at all, and it runs in 60 frames per second. However, Witcher does more with the hair physics, and the wind effect takes up a whole ton of computing, so I get it. But my biggest problem is that there's no reason for this to be an open world game. You don't roam around taking quests and finding a house and buying it, and it's this open world for the sake of saying it's an open world game, and so it can get higher scores from the game. What do Metal Gear Solid 5, Grand Theft Auto, The Witcher 3, and probably Fallout 4, which is a guaranteed 10 from everybody, what do those games have in common? They're all open world games. If your game is open world and it's not Mad Max for some reason, you're guaranteed like at least a 9. It's not even a true open world. You look at the map, it's just a bunch of long narrow corridors that connect these bases. That's not open world. IGN has a video called How Metal Gear Solid Does Open World Right. And the highest rated comment like is worth the buys, and it's just a sarcastic response to it. And is like, that was my job application for IGN, and it is perfect. He nails it. Nails it. And like I said, I like the sandboxiness. There are a bunch of tanks coming by, and it's like, oh, you gotta destroy these tanks. I'm like, oh, I got an idea. I'll put a bunch of C4 on the road, and then I'll get on the mortar, and anybody that I can't hit with the mortar, I'll blow up with the C4. The tanks are like 200 meters away, and they're like around a bend, and they stop. And it's 199 meters away, and then they stop. And then it's 195 meters away. These vehicle missions are glitchy as hell. Vehicles are like 10 miles away and they stop every 5 seconds and it takes forever. And throwing grenades is downright impossible because when you're creating the arc, the camera goes up into the sky and you can't see where it's gonna land. So before I buy the game, I'm like, who's the girl and why is she gonna be? At first I'm like, okay, if she just had a bikini top on and then like actual legitimate military cargo pants just because it's hot, that would make sense. I'd let it get away with that. But she's in a thong bikini and she's got like stockings on and there's holes in them and she's got that weird long glove that goes up her. She's dressed like a stripper. She is dressed like a stripper. Kojima swore we'd all feel really bad about saying that was distasteful and that there was a very good reason for her to be naked. And there is a reason. It's because Kojima likes boobs. Feminists are always going, oh, they objectify women in video games, and I'm always like, pfft. It's not just the fact that how Quiet is dressed. There's a scene where it's in the rain and she's pulling off her stockings all sexily and she's just rolling around in the rain and the camera is all up on, the camera's going across people's boobs. Kojima is a class A pervert. That is the most blatant, pathetic use of sexism I have ever seen in a video game. So I really hate how the game keeps trying to force this mother base thing on you. I mean, I would use the weapons development so I could like buy rocket launchers and stuff you actually need. But I did not worry about managing people or building FOBs at all. And the game's constantly locking you into these tutorials that you can't get out of until you do this thing. And that's a terrible way to introduce somebody to a new thing. That really makes them want to do it. And then there's this whole nuclear thing. I really have no idea how that works. The game did not explain to me that at all. And Kaz is all like, oh, other multiplayer online people can build nukes and you can either steal them from them and disable them to bring world peace.
A world that's free of nuclear weapons. I'll leave that decision up to you.
And I'm like, fuck that. I want the biggest, pointiest, longest, most scary looking nuke you can make me. And I want 1,000 of them. And then the part where it casually brings up this epidemic is like the staff management, and then it's like 10 of your staff that you've been faulting in this whole game died. And I'm like, was I supposed to do something about that? That was so poorly told to me. So the story itself, it's Japanese, it's weird. Just the fact that it's weird and Japanese and different doesn't make it good. So the game starts off and you're like in the hospital after the 9-year coma thing from the last game. And then everybody's out to kill you. and then you hop out of that and you ignore that completely for this other thing about like child soldiers and the strain of an infection that spreads through speaking a certain language. I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. And I like Skullface. He sounds cool and he looks cool. The story is it's more uneven than a mountain range. You would go like 3 missions without hearing about it, and then a cutscene out of nowhere. The missions do not in any way connect with the story. So I'm gonna get into spoilers now, so I'll leave this on the screen until I'm done talking about them. But the fact that they kill Skullface halfway through the game and then go to this other stuff, it's so disconnected. It's like, okay, so we get Skullface trying to kill everybody in America with his English strain of this parasite. Okay, let's stop him. Okay, we did that. Success. Bum, 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 bum. End of chapter 1. And then the super small, that seems like a side thing about Eli, like, not wanting to follow Snake, becomes, like, the main story. And then there's all this other weird crap about the epidemic and Snake turning into a monster. It's like, why wasn't that in between the Skullface thing? When you kill off your main villain in the middle of the game, it just feels real. Oh my god! And after that, there's this big long cutscene, and it makes it seem like the game's gonna end. And then they play 15 minutes of end game credits, not the dinky little credits that you can skip, the actual end game credits. And I sit through them because I think the game's over, and I'm like, well, that was weird and stupid, but at least it's over now. And then it says, next time on Metal Gear Solid Chapter 2, I'm like, what? Why did you make me sit through the credits? Oh, you could skip those too. It's like, no, if I think it's the end game credits, I'm gonna watch them because I don't want to miss some little Easter egg at the end, okay? Don't play credits more than once! Going back to the thing about the vehicle missions, there's a glitch. Mission 26, there's a glitch. It's like somewhere in this whole gigantic, not even one base, like an entire mile-wide area, there's this guy transporting this thing. Go kill him. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, go to hell. And then I find the piece of intel that, like, paints the route of the truck on the map. I went up and down that route 3 times, nothing. And I've sat there and waited for like 40 minutes and the truck never showed up. And I'm like, alright, fine, one glitch, I'll reboot the mission, thanks for wasting an hour of my time. And then I do it again, I'm still going up and down the route, he's nowhere to be found, and then I hear he's made it to the objective. I'm like, how? Snake's a cool looking guy. He's got an eye patch and a bionic arm and a beard. And he's got a deep gravelly voice, but he never talks, like ever. There's like no dialogue written for him. And when he does talk, it's like he didn't need to be talking there. Whatever. Dialogue is really poorly written. And the cutscenes are like, they're so weird. Again, there's shaky cam because he's going for this stupid cinematic thing. Shaky cam was not good in movies. Don't bring it to our video games. And then it will just stop and it'll be like slow motion in the middle of a cutscene for no reason, and then I'll speed up back to, I'm like, what the hell was that?
Captured a convoy they were escorting. Cargo, some kind of mineral.
What became of it? The metallic archaea. Clouds ahead! It's them.
This is what I learned from the Major. And then it hit me. It was he who should feel my wrath. He and the code he chose as basis for control. Language codes, information codes, beamed all around us, genetic codes spanning history. By controlling the codes, Cypher Zero intends to unify the world. Codes implanted into our heads, sucking our minds dry as it spreads from one host to the next. A parasite upon this earth, that is what Zero is. As one born into this world he's afflicted, I hold him responsible for killing my freedom. Killing all traces of my past. Killing any promise of a future.
And the story itself is just way too minimal for like a 50 mission game. And supposedly a lot of it is told over these little radio things. Nope, 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 nope. That's lazy. And if I can't listen to those while I'm doing other things, because it'll like play, the radio will play at the same time. It's poorly designed. So this game is, it looks like it was made by an amateur studio, really. Like, this is AAA game development these days. When your intel from the radio and a cassette tape both play at the same time. And it's also just lazy, bad excuse for not writing the cutscenes. So some pretty cool stuff happens at the end. And then there's the big twist. And then it shows them in the hospital, and it's Snake's all like, oh, the tail, but he doesn't have the shrapnel on his face. And it's all like, yo, to die on me, Snake, you son of a bitch. And he's like, will he live? And like, yeah, we stabilized his heart rate, he's fine. Fuck! Drive some other street! And they're like, fuck, he's gonna live. Okay, great. And like, what about that guy? And then everybody looks at the camera, and they say, I don't know. He took some shrapnel to the face. And I'm like, oh! Even if you play the beginning again, it's really obvious that Kiefer Sutherland is the voice of Ishmael. That was cool. I did like that a lot. And so we're supposed to see Snake turning into this villain, and I'm like, we don't really see that. Like, the people he shoots, that Huey's going like, those are your men, Snake. They followed yours. It's like, fuck you, Huey. They're infected zombies and they need to die. That's not evil at all. And he starts putting ashes all over his face because he's just going weird. And I'm like, okay, whatever. The story is, there's some good in it. There's some good cutscenes. There's some cool stuff, but it's structured by a 5-year-old. The mission checkpoints. So there's this big, long 15-minute mission. This happens twice, by the way. Oh, God. I will get to that in a minute. That is why I hate this game. Just give me a second, okay? I'll be right with you. So there's this big, wide open area, and there's this rebel guerrilla thing going on, and like, the rebels have hired us to take out as many of these tanks coming by as we can. And it's 15 minutes. You have to kill as many tanks, and like, it's a huge area, and again, they move so slowly, so you drive up to one, and then you blow it up, but of course, then by the time you've done that, the other one's already escaped. So you realize the only way to do this is to stay in this one bottleneck spot where they all exit, and then just stand there and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and blow them up with a rocket launcher, call in a supply drop, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait.
Target eliminated. Great. Now on to the next. Boss, we have information on new targets. Check your iDroid for their predicted route.
"15 minutes to do that. 15 minutes. And he's like, Snake, the mission's completed. We can leave if you want. But the rebels have promised us bonus money if we take out these helicopters they're sending now. I'm like, alright. So I try to take out the helicopters. I get blown to shit. And then it's like, mission failure. And it starts me at the beginning of the whole mission that I already completed. Hey, Kojima. That's right. I'm going to keep saying Kojima. Not the studio, not Konami. Kojima. Hey, there's this word. You might not have heard of it. It's called a checkpoint! Fucking asshole. The vehicles control horribly. In a racing game, right trigger and left trigger for gas and brake makes sense, but in a game where there are weapons on the vehicle, it doesn't. It is literally impossible to move and shoot at the same time in these tanks. Troy Baker's character, Ocelot, and this guy Kaz, they're dicks. They're terrible people. And then they're interrogating Quiet. Quiet is called Quiet. She doesn't talk. She hums. She goes, That's kind of cute. But she doesn't talk. She never talks. They know that. They know why she doesn't talk. And they're interrogating her, trying to get her to talk. Trying to get answers out of her, electrocuting her, like, answer these questions. And then a guy comes in and explains that to him, like, he already knew that. Why was this happening? That makes no sense. This game sucks. Please excuse the parade that's coming down my street right now. Okay, so, despite all the problems I've said, all the problems, up until about mission 30-ish, it's a good game. It's a decent game. There's fun to be had. There's some huge problems, but it's a fun game, okay? It's nowhere near the 10 everybody's giving it, but it's a good game. And then it takes a shit on your face, and it pulls some of the most unforgivable gaming sins I think I might have ever come across. So, people have been calling the mission design repetitive. And I agree. There's not a lot of mission variety. It's like you go in, you either find the guy, or you take the guy out, or you kill the guy. The missions are all basically the same. But that in and of itself isn't that much of a criticism, because every game is repetitive. Every game has one thing that you want to do a lot because it's fun. That's the idea. Left 4 Dead, you're shooting zombies the whole time. Shooting zombies. You're shooting zombies, shooting zombies, shooting zombies. It's the same thing the whole time. I don't see people calling... I don't know why I keep bringing up Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead's a lot of fun. I love Left 4 Dead. They're addicting. That's why they're fun. The games like Arkham Knight, where there are 3 different kinds of combat, are just rarities. So that in and of itself is not a negative. The problem is that it reuses the same bases. Okay, so it's like the same base. I'm like, I've already been in this base. This seems familiar, and I'm doing a different mission in the same base. And I'm like, that's lazy. They're reusing the same bases. Whatever. But that's not the half of it. Around mission 30, it starts not just reusing the same bases. It reuses the same missions. As in, literally, I'm making up these numbers, and it's not the same numbers. Mission 14 is mission 37. The same place, the same mission, the same objectives, the same story, introduction, and dialogue. As minimal as that is sometimes. You rescue Quiet twice! That is the epitome of laziness! Go ahead, sure, blame Konami. Be a dumbass. They're either on a higher difficulty or they're total stealth, which is bullshit if they've been, let the player do whatever they want, except that now you're forced to do stealth. That destroys the concept of the sandbox. And there's a mission. It makes you do it without equipment. Nothing. You don't get guns. You get a knife for killing people. That's it. Mission 37-38 is when I had enough. D-Dog was still a puppy. That's already most. If there's 50 missions, that's already most of the game. I couldn't tell you what he does. I never got to use him. Then the skulls. Skulls are a terrible boss fight. They're bullet sponges. They teleport. They don't even recognize that they take damage until you've been shooting at them for like a few seconds. They throw these giant undodgeable rocks at you. They'll kill you in 1 or 2 hits, and then it's all like, oh, Snake used the first aid. And it's like, press triangle to use first aid, and you can't move. Every time you get hit, you have to push the button again. It's the worst mechanic ever. Like, if you really refuse to start writing new missions after that point, why didn't you end the game? Why? And after that, like, that's that long credits thing, and it says next time Metal Gear Solid, it starts spoiling the game in the game. It shows a character who was dead in the last game, and it shows all of the cool fire-looking stuff that was in the trailer that you're like, where was that the whole game? You can't do that. You can't do that. I don't give a shit how good the rest of the game is. You can't do that. And then just starts taking your face and dunking you in the toilet with its shitty game mechanics, with its horrible, not even bad game design, its lack of game design. They stopped designing missions and reused the old ones. On principle, this should get an incomplete. My thought process on this game was, I guaranteed it at least a 7, because it's fun. Whether it gets an 8 or a 9 or a 7 is dependent on the story. It had pretty much guaranteed a score that high, and it ensured it wouldn't get anything near that. It should get an incomplete, but I nearly finished it. I played it for over 50 hours. That repeating missions thing is unforgivable. I have like hardcore OCD. I need to finish things. That's who I am. And then I said, no, I'm not doing this. That's how bad it was. I would say fuck everyone involved with this game, but it's just Kojima. It's just Kojima. Go to hell, Kojima, kiss my ass, and fuck you. Geniuses and dumbasses. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, is a 4 out of 10. Backing into a red barrel blows it up.